Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. I'm Sarah Vanderwicken, the worship associate for this morning. Whether this is your spiritual home or you are newly discovering this community, we're grateful to share this time together. We strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community seeking truth in love and nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together to remember our kinship with one another and to hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention, and to dedicate ourselves more fully to living our shared values. People of all ages are welcome, an important part of our faith community, and we're blessed to have the children in the sanctuary for the first half of every service and the entire service about once a month. The nest in the front is our designated area for families with young children, where we have quiet fidget toys and activities and a kid-friendly order of service. Nursery care is available in room 11 every Sunday. As part of being a welcoming and inclusive community, we have some information posted on the screen that will help orient you to UCE and our service. A few announcements. Remember to stay after the service today for our Empty Bowls Super Sunday. A lovely soup-based lunch is $6, although no one will be turned away. And handmade ceramic bowls are for sale at various prices, which are marked on the bowls. And all profits will support the Hillside Pantry, Evanston Produce Mobile, and Connections for the Homeless. Now get ready. Plans are already underway for the 2024 rummage sale the first weekend in May. As winter winds down and spring cleaning approaches, please set aside items for donating to this year's sale and encourage your friends and neighbors to do the same. If you don't remember which items we will or won't accept, worry not. Just as we have in the last 2 years, we'll soon publish the 2024 donation tip sheet. And now, let us settle into our shared time of reflection, celebration, and inspiration. As we begin our worship service, those joining us online are invited to gather your chalice as we join in beloved community. Welcome to worship.
We
The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on land that was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829, shortly before the Potawatomi in this area were forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. This land was then sold to white settlers. We also remember the ancestors of contemporary African Americans, the individuals, families, and networks of Black people who built up our country's culture and economy, a role forced on them originally by enslavement. We acknowledge the intentional violence that landed on North American shores in 1619 and that has continued throughout the generations and remains a reality today. These acknowledgments are one small effort toward building long-term solidarity with contemporary communities. We commit ourselves to take what we learn here today and incorporate it into our lives and turn our thoughts into actions. Please join in our words of shared commitment. We name these realities with honor for all the ancestors, respect for our descendants, and gratitude for the land we use as sacred space. Craig and Jo Lynn Cotton brought the flowers this morning, and as they light our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying the words on the screen by Reverend Sarah Lawal. You read the bold yellow text, and I'll read the plain text. We rise with the courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. We rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. We rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. We rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames we rise. And now please you rise, in body or spirit, and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And before we sing our opening hymn, I invite those joining us online to greet each other in the chat, and those gathered in the sanctuary to turn to one another briefly to say good morning, trying to greet someone who is new or less well known to you.
After the service and continue your conversations over a bowl of soup perhaps, and stop by, I don't know if there is a welcome table. It's moved over there this time. If you're new to the congregation, please stop by the welcome table and learn more about our community. And let us sing together hymn number 300 with Heart and Mind. invite us now to settle into our time of quiet reflection as we share the joys and sorrows of the congregation. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you'd like spoken aloud, you can write it in the book that's found just as you enter into the sanctuary, or you can send me an email, or you can fill out the form found on the homepage of our website. We listen to these offerings with tenderness and with respect, and so let's take in a few breaths together to settle our minds and our bodies. Breathe in and breathe out. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared today. From Carol Nielsen, a joy, thanks to Lynn Kendall, Pat Ulmer, Margaret Schatz, Julie Lamberti, and other friends and neighbors who helped me through the rides, meals, and other support over the past 3 weeks while I had cataract surgery and hand surgery. I'm beginning to feel whole and can see quite well and move my hand. That's so good to hear, Carol. From Gretchen Brewster, two joys. My beautiful, loving baby daughter, Casey Lewis Varela. Did I say that right? Varela? Yeah? Okay. Turned 50 years old recently, and we celebrated her many gifts last night with a wonderful, fun gathering organized by her very caring husband. And our beautiful, quite shy 12-year-old granddaughter, Cecily Rose Lewis, became this year's Evanston District 65 Spelling Bee champion Thursday by correctly spelling 18 words, many of which I'd never heard of, let alone spell. She bested the top spellers from 10 other schools onto the regionals. Congratulations. From Sarah Devaney, a joy. On Wednesday, February 14th, my parents Daniel and Judith will be celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary. Very exciting. Congrats. And a joy from Susan Talmadge. She's grateful for the colonoscopy that she had in January when a precancerous lesion was discovered and removed, probably saving her life, though she'll need some follow-up. That is wonderful. And from Kylie Corey, a sorrow, holding the sorrow of the sudden loss of one of my dear friends from college. He suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm on Wednesday and was declared brain dead this past Thursday. His life was cut way too short at 26, and he leaves behind his wife and their unborn child. A choir of angels somewhere is out there singing just a bit better now that he's there to help them out and continue his love and passion for teaching music in the life after this one. We know that these are not the only joys and sorrows on our hearts. In this room and in the world beyond, there is much to hold. And so I invite you to come forward now to light a candle for a joy or a sorrow that's on your heart. You can come to one of the 3 stations. And if you need a candle brought to you, please raise your hand and we'll bring you one. Thank you. For these joys, we give our thanks. For these sorrows, we give our love. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, source of love, behold in our awareness your presence with us in all things. May we remember to invite you to move through us in times of difficulty and pain. May we remember to express gratitude for the beauty and abundance we share. When we are angry, afraid, despairing, and lonely, may we remember to call justice and compassion into our being. When we know sorrow and suffering, give us wisdom and courage to respond with life-giving possibility. In the loneliness we endure, may we turn toward one another to find comfort and belonging. In our powerlessness and fear, may we refrain from lashing out and instead lean into the divine presence found in each other. May our actions be less harmful and more healing for all beings, for ourselves and for the planet. Let us hold a moment of silence together for all the pain and the suffering we know here and around the world in our efforts to ameliorate them. Amen, and blessed be. As we sing our response, number 17, verse 2, our young people, preschool through 12th grade, are invited to head to their faith formation time with their adult leaders.
As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, values, and principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with the Chicago Religious Leadership Network on Latin America, known as CRLN. This organization builds partnerships among social movements and organized communities in the U.S. and Latin America to work for sustainable economies, just relationships, and human dignity. You may text to give, mail in a check, put cash or check in the collection bowls, or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering or some other giving. The ushers will now come forward to pass the collection bowls down the rows. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy. thank you for your generosity, and thank you for your generosity, Gregory. Harry's up.
Good morning. My name is Harry Hirsch. I came to the UCE in 1971 with my first wife and 2 kids. I was a lapsed Lutheran, and she was a non-practicing Jew. And we wished to give our children some religious education or knowledge without going either side. On our first day, we were introduced to Jerry and Lorna Gaelic, who acted as hosts and became lifelong friends. After the service, we drank coffee from pink cups, which was the IDs for newcomers, and old-timers could introduce themselves or ignore us if they wished. This was my first taste of UCE, and it illustrated what I value so much over my 50 years of membership, fellowship. I joined the church in 1972 and served on several committees. Membership on these committees was fun and rewarding. I met more UCEers and developed lifelong friendships. My first wife and I separated, and I remarried in the church and found more fellowship in many activities. I became a board member in the late 1980s and was board chair when we conducted a capital drive to raise funds for the outer lobby and the addition with the 4 rooms. Well, by the end of June 1989, we were $100,000 short of meeting our goal. And it looked like the construction was going to have to be postponed for a year. One day, Roger Fritz, our minister at that time, called me and said, "Harry, we got the money." An anonymous donor had given the church a check for $100,000 to complete the drive and begin the project. There have been several successful capital drives and many annual pledge drives we always come through. What keeps me continuing to participate in these UCE activities is not only what it stands for, our values, our 8 principles, but fellowship. I have sung in the choir for 40 years under John Giles, Bart Bradfield, and now Vickie Hellyer. Reverend Eileen used to be in the choir. We have been blessed with Ken Smith and now Gregory Shifrin as accompanist. The church is my family. Many of my dearest friends are people whom I met here, worshiped, partied, vacationed, played cards with, and mourned with. I have stood at this lectern and made announcements and delivered eulogies. As I stand here, I see many of you whom I've known through the years and people I just met a week ago. In conclusion, I want to tell you something that Roger Fritz, that minister at the time of the Capitol Drive, told me at our 125th anniversary in 2016. I asked him if he knew who the anonymous donor was, and he said, "Harry, they might be sitting next to you."
Thank you so much, Harry. As you return to the choir loft in preparation for our anthem, I want to just give you an update about our pledge drive, that we are currently, as of this morning, at $410,293 with 103 pledges in. So that means we're about 232,000 away from our goal, with about 150 pledges expected to come in. So we got this. We're going to do this just like Harry said. We always come through, and we are going to come through for our values, for our principles, and for our kinship with one another. If you haven't had a chance to submit your pledge form yet, please check your email and let us know if you don't see that letter. And you can also stop by the table in the back for the Pledge Drive support team to help you fill out your form. Let's keep building that support and our mutual kinship. Thank you.
Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming.
Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming. Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming. Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom, freedom is coming. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Freedom is coming. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Freedom is coming. Oh justice. Oh justice. Oh justice. Justice is coming. Oh justice. Oh justice. Oh justice. Justice is coming. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Freedom is coming. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Freedom is coming. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Freedom is coming. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Freedom is coming. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Freedom is coming. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Freedom is coming. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Ah yes. Oh yes. No.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, choir. This month we celebrate the birthdays of Charles Darwin and Frederick Douglass. Though their lives overlapped, to my knowledge, they never met or even corresponded. Yet their ideas about humanity, who we are as a species, and how we are related to each other and the world certainly were in dialogue, whether they meant them to be or not. It is also true that their ideas have been posthumously used to both fight racism and defend white supremacy. I wonder how they would have talked about that had they met. In this congregation and in many Unitarian Universalist congregations, Charles Darwin has been celebrated as a hero because of his groundbreaking work on evolutionary theory. His book on the origin of the species, first published in 1959, was not the first to propose the theory. The French botanist Jean-Baptiste Lamarck offered evolutionary theory as early as 1799, and there were others as well. But Darwin's real breakthrough was describing and offering proof of natural selection, the process by which species adapt and evolve over time to be more suited to their environments. This was radical at the time because it challenged the idea of a supreme creator controlling life, and it put the question of our common humanity at the forefront. It makes sense that we would venerate Darwin as Unitarian Universalists because our tradition holds science and reason as some of our most sacred sources of wisdom. We look to evidence and facts to test our own faith and to question how we know what we know. But it's curious that we do not as often uphold Frederick Douglass during Black History Month, the month of his birth and death. This American who did more to champion the rights of all people, not just to escape his own enslavement, but to speak so powerfully for the end of enslavement of all people, as well as the rights of women. He was a brilliant mind who used both science, reason, and faith to challenge the false claims of racial hierarchy, and he had important things to say about Darwin's theories. Though Darwin actually had very little to say about the evolution of human beings, let alone race or racism. His theory has been used by both abolitionists to make the case that we come from one common ancestor, and by eugenicists who twist the idea of survival of the fittest to legitimize notions of creating a superior race. For abolitionists, many of whom still believed that God was directing the process of evolution, the idea that we all, no matter the color of our skin, were created from the same source made slavery abhorrent. Yet at the same time, those who wanted to rationalize human enslavement developed their own case, manipulating ideas of natural selection. Ethnologists, studying languages and customs of various peoples, observed human differences and concluded there were different human categories. A pseudoscience known as polygenism held that God created distinct categories of humans, including black and white, and that white people were superior. Polygenism is linked to social Darwinism, as some have come to name it, meaning the inevitability that those who are more fit will survive and those who are weaker are expendable. This flawed logic fails to account for the forces of oppression, violence, and colonization that have been rampant around the globe before, during, and since Darwin and Douglass's time. Frederick Douglass understood the impacts of ethnology, polygenism, natural selection, and evolutionary theory on the racism that undergirded enslavement. He foresaw how such notions as humans evolving from apes and adapting through competition and survival of the fittest could be used to justify slavery. But Douglass challenged these ideas, not by rejecting science, but by embracing it. He spoke most clearly and strongly against these ideas in his 1854 commencement speech at Western Reserve College in Ohio, the first Black man to be invited to do so. The speech was entitled, "The Claims of the Negro Ethnologically Considered." And in it, he made 3 clear points that we would take for granted today. That Black people were human and are human. That all humans share a common ancestry and are part of the same family. And that it is not the color of our skin that determines our humanity or our fate. It is our shared liberation or oppression that upholds or robs us of humanity. He said, quote, "When men oppress their fellow men, the oppressor finds in the character of the oppressed a justification for his oppression." He also railed against the white supremacist idea that Egyptians were white. Yes, they thought that. Ethnologists and polygenists could not fathom the idea that Egyptians, clearly on the continent of Africa, and clearly a superior society, could be anything but white. Douglass concluded his commencement speech with this, quote, "The fact that Egypt was one of the earliest abodes of learning and civilization is as firmly established as are the everlasting hills. Greece and Rome, and through them Europe and America, have received their civilization from the ancient Egyptians. This fact is not denied by anybody. But Egypt is in Africa. Pity that it had not been in Europe or in Asia, or better still, in America. Another unhappy circumstance is that the ancient Egyptians were not white people, but were undoubtedly just about as dark in complexion as many of this country who are considered genuine Negroes," end quote. As brilliant and scathing and relevant as this speech was and is, it did not dispel white supremacy or silence scientific racism. In 2018, New York Times opinion piece titled "Frederick Douglass's Fight Against Scientific Racism," Eric Hirschall says, quote, "Even as Douglass refused to allow racist scientific theories to go unchallenged, he always understood that science was not the antidote to white people's racism. There were only so many facts you could give to prove black people's humanity," end quote. Science, reason, and facts can only take us so far in the struggle for our common humanity and liberation. Relationships of trust and experiences of connection across difference can be far more powerful in evolving our minds and our souls. One of the things I love most about our shared faith is that we gather wisdom and insight from unlimited sources. We know that revelation is never sealed. We read from the texts of all the world's religions, and we read modern-day poets. We draw from science and reason as well as from our own lived experience. We incorporate the visionary truths of prophets across the ages to challenge the forces of power and domination present now. We use our collective wisdom to decry violence and hold systems that perpetuate violence accountable. The power and possibility of our religious tradition lies in our encouragement of the questions asked in covenantal relationship and the practice of curiosity across difference as we uphold our common humanity. As Frederick Douglass was battling with words these ideas that perpetuated racism, Darwin didn't have much to say at all about race, even though he came from a family of abolitionists. He seemed perhaps too absorbed in observing the natural world to contemplate the implications of his work on ideas of God or slavery. And it might not be fair to place the responsibility on Darwin to manage how his scientific theories are used in the years since he published them. But I wonder if Darwin and Douglass were having a conversation today, what questions they might ask of each other. Would Douglass use his oratory skills to skewer Darwin and take him to task on social Darwinism? Would Darwin simply shake his head and mutter something about finches? Maybe. But I like to think they might courageously and honestly talk about the construct of race, how destructive it has been. Maybe they would talk about how categories can be useful in certain scientific endeavors, but not when it comes to creating a false sense of human separateness. Would they talk about how interdependent we are with each other and all of life? If I could sit in on that conversation, I might ask about humanity's role in evolving our own souls. Do we play a part in our own evolution? Is it possible that dialogue across difference and working to understand those we don't yet understand may be the only evolutionary force within our grasp? Amidst the relentless flow of information and the persistence of violence and oppression all over the world, as we witness the devastation of war in the Middle East and in the Ukraine, famine in Africa, climate devastation, and the thousands of migrants fleeing violence in Central and South America, it is hard to know how we could feel anything but powerless. As chaos erupts everywhere, it feels we are at the whim of forces outside of our control. But humans are incredibly adaptable, and we do have some agency in our lives, even if it is only to choose how we react, how we open our hearts and our minds to each other and to what is present in the world around us. Amidst the sense of powerlessness, I remain convinced that our greatest agency, our greatest hope for continual evolution lies in our ability to practice this openness, to resist mutual dehumanization and demonization, and to develop compassionate communication skills. This week I heard a lecture from a professor of sociology and researcher of Christian nationalism, Dr. Andrew Whitehead. Because most people don't self-identify as Christian nationalists, his research uses a series of questions to help locate people on a continuum that includes rejectors, resistors, accommodators, and ambassadors of Christian nationalist ideology. One of the identifying questions the researchers asked was about conspiracy theories, how much an individual believed in a particular conspiracy. As you might expect, those who were ambassadors of Christian nationalism, those with the strongest indicators based on the questions, were far more likely to believe in conspiracy theories. The researchers included a conspiracy theory called the South Dakota crash. Anyone heard of that? You didn't, because they entirely made it up. And 38% of Christian nationalist ambassadors believed this completely fabricated conspiracy theory they'd never heard of. It is frightening how easily we human beings can be led astray, fooled into believing there is evidence for our bias and justification for our fears of the other. But I also took this away from Dr. Whitehead's lecture. Facts do not change people's minds when they are holding a fixed belief. What does have the potential to transform people from entrenched positions are curious questions. If we are able to approach one another and life itself with curiosity and wonder, we are more likely to encourage a change of heart and mind, to introduce a crack in the armor of a false notion or a sense of certainty. Curiosity and open questions are so much better at creating a way into connection than throwing facts at someone in an effort to change them. Staying in relationship as much as possible, holding our own safety and well-being as a priority, but staying in those relationships with those we disagree with is so hard, and it is so critical. Next Saturday and Sunday, the interfaith clergy are hosting two scholars, Dr. Hussein Ibish, a Muslim scholar, and Professor David N. Myers, a Jewish scholar, each lecture followed by an hour-long facilitated conversation. Dr. Ibish and Dr. Myers have been teaching and presenting together for years on the history and conflict in Israel and Palestine, and we are grateful to have them here to expand a shared understanding of the crisis. They'll be at Second Baptist on Saturday and Faith Temple Church of God in Christ on Sunday. I hope you'll sign up for those. We're hopeful that these conversations, this opportunity for learning, might be the basis for ongoing conversations across difference in Evanston. This won't solve the crisis. Sitting and listening and talking will not end the killing of innocent lives. Signing a ceasefire resolution here in Evanston will not end the violence either, but we are all looking for what we can do in these times of incredible division and suffering. When we feel powerless, we look for ways we can do something to affect change, to end the current pain, and we need to take action even when it feels symbolic at best. And it matters how we take action. I want to let you know that I'm in conversation with clergy and some of the advocates of a ceasefire resolution, and I have agreed to sign the current version of the resolution being put forth to the Evanston City Council, with the understanding that more dialogue, more conversation about a wider collaboration is also necessary and underway. I understand that adding our voices to cry out for peace is an important part of social activism, and I still believe that how we come together to call for peace, to deepen our understanding, to have the conversations about an end to the bloodshed is what will open the possibilities of lasting positive impacts here in our community and the wider world. I don't know what Darwin and Douglass would have said to one another about the crisis we are facing today. I'm not sure what they would have said to each other about the crisis of enslavement that they faced in their day. I don't know what they would say to each other about how to keep scientific notions of human evolution from being twisted into a false belief in white supremacy. It is possible they would have found much to agree on. In any case, I like to imagine them wondering together, asking each other curious questions, listening to one another's stories. I like to think they would have had a positive impact on one another, these two brilliant and diverse minds. Anytime two or more of us come together to listen, to open our hearts and minds to each other, to ask curious questions, and to be willing to be changed, we evolve. And through that collective evolution together, we can transform the world in new possibilities of hope and beauty. On that point, I will give Mr. Douglass the last word. He said, "Before such the ocean of mind lies outspread, studded with difficulties and perils. Thoughts, theories, ideas, and systems so various and so opposite and leading to such diverse results suggest the wisdom of the utmost precaution and the most careful survey at the start. A false light, a defective chart, an imperfect compass may cause one to drift in endless bewilderment or to be landed at last amid sharp, destructive rocks. On the other hand, guided by wisdom, manned with truth, fidelity, and industry, the haven of peace, devoutly wished for by all, may be reached in safety by all. The compensation of the preacher is full when assured with his or her words have saved even one from error and from ruin. My joy shall be full if I shall be able to give a right direction to any one mind touching the question now to be considered." Amen, and blessed be.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join in saying the words on the screen by the Reverend Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn.
May we continue to evolve as partners in our common humanity with curiosity and wonder, leading us toward liberation, justice, and true peace. May we make it so.